Free speech threatened like never before. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, August the 6th, and the destruction of our free speech continues, and there's now a lawsuit pending from RFK stating those very facts and looking for information on YouTube and Google. And of course, naturally, we know that obviously YouTube and Google are the same, and the social medias continue to mute the free speech of those who are conservative and pound out the liberal message. And again, it is not that I am on either side, but I believe that both sides should have the opportunity to speak their mind, as long as it's not hurtful or whatever. And of course, as I do go back to the Nazi invasion in Skokie, when we had the demonstration that was allowed to go through, but yet here we are 40 years later, 50 years later, and we're muting the ability for those to speak. You have all of the news coming out of what this administration has done with Facebook and others. And of course, we know that already 80% of the news channels preach a liberal bias. Okay, we don't have, true conservatives do not have a voice. And this is why we need a third party, the Libertarian Party. Of course, again, we get Coke or we get Pepsi. We don't get no RC Cola, and continues to be the problem. But of course, when you have a country that now has developed a second set of laws, one for the Biden family and his administration, and one for the rest of us, including President Trump, you see completely separate sets of rules for everybody. I mean, if Hunter Biden's name was Donald Trump Jr., he'd have been in jail, years ago. But of course, he's not. So we continue to watch the treasonous, the thievery behavior of our president, of a sitting president, who may or may not get into some trouble here, because of course we don't see the outrage, because of course we are led by that bias. But it is the hypocrisy that we continue to watch in this country, which again is just another form and another way of taking us into a communistic view, a communism as a country. And again, it's not here yet, but you are starting to see more and more signs of it. And you see that, of course, in New York, the anti-violence was just busted. The head of the anti-violence was just arrested for drugs and guns. Okay, so he was the director of the anti-violence group in New York, and of course just got arrested. So again, these are the things that continue to be troublesome for all of us. When we sit here and watch, and your vice president, Kamala Harris, will not meet with Governor DeSantis and talk about the education curriculum, which of course, naturally, when you are trying to dumb down Americans, when you're trying to teach from a very young age ignorance, which is again where we have headed, whether it be from understanding history, from values. We have no more true family unit. Okay, I mean, you go out to a restaurant and all you see is if you see a family together at all, they're all on their iPhones or whatever and texting and doing anything but conversing. And of course, the art of communication has died. But why would we want to have a good education system? This has been the battle that we have fought with our high school program, getting teachers to teach it. Okay, And the laws here are ridiculous. And of course, President Biden, your fearless leader, has opened up so many loopholes for the border, which has led to the highest amount ever of human trafficking. And of course, this has been a problem forever, but now it has multiplied and magnified probably 20 or 30 times over, as we have now finding out the profit that these illegal smugglers of human flesh, okay, and children have been, and this is all about the border. And the interesting thing about the border is the laws are on the books to do what we did before, and actually to build that wall that we should have here, because you should not be able to cross illegally, especially when we're having all of these drugs and people being smuggled across the border. And of course, you're smuggling in slaves. You're smuggling in for child prostitution. I mean, these are things that are very serious. And if you don't think they are, well, then you have no heart whatsoever. I mean, again, you can continue to believe that you are, doing the right thing, but you are doing the absolute wrong thing, because we have opened up the continuation of a very dangerous and a significant part of what happens in this world. And the human smuggling is just ridiculous. And if you haven't seen the Call of Freedom, I mean, it's just unbelievable what goes on around here. And we have this. They just indicted a bunch, 4 or 5 people on just that very thing, on human smuggling, and it's so scary, especially if you are a parent, okay, of having your child abducted and then turned into slavery. And again, you may think that this is over sensationalized, but you saw the movie Taken, okay? Those things happen all the time. They happen every day. They happen in big numbers. And if we're going to continue to ignore it like we continue to ignore everything else, then God help us, okay? You're seeing in Chicago, and I think this is what we kind of talked about over the last couple of years, is the citizens are getting tired of it. Even the Democrats, okay, and the liberals that have fought every step of the way are getting sick of it as well. I mean, obviously, we know Chicago is a very liberal town, and they're now starting to get so frustrated with the crime that they are starting to step out themselves and saying that we're going to take over and not allow this crime to continue. And this ought to be very interesting, because, you have an imbecile for a mayor in Chicago. I mean, all he is it could be Lori Lightfoot in drag. Okay, I mean, you might be saying, because that's all he is he is just the same piece of shit that she was. Okay, but listen, big news last week: the fiscal downgrade of our debt. Now, you may think it is no big deal, and in reality, it is not a huge ordeal, with the one exception. You and me get the benefit of having to pay more taxes eventually to satisfy this debt. Remember, the government creates nothing. In fact, on Friday, I had an interview with radio, and we got in this big battle, and they were trying to convince me that the government creates something. Well, give me one thing they create other than debt. Okay, they create a bunch of shitty laws. They steal money like crazy. We have a broken down political system and massive amount of debt, which is now going to have to be satisfied by the middle class. Okay, everybody participates, but the middle class is the workers, the taxpayers, and you're going to get the pleasure to pay for this once again. And of course, you have the net zero, the carbon emissions. Well, again, if you remember, this goes back to when President Trump first took term, and they had the climate accord through France. Well, all those countries now and nations are now saying no. Many of them have backed out of the climate change, and the bottom line is that people will take climate change, take the steps to go to net zero if it doesn't cost them any more money. And this is the problem. When you look at what's going on in this country, okay, again, I don't care if you believe in climate change, great. If you don't believe in it, great, because I don't. Okay, but again, it doesn't matter. I'm not telling you shouldn't try to be green or try to be something else, but it has to start from the top. And the politicians have to quit stealing our money on a dream or on a hope or on a whim, and actually do something to fix the infrastructure. You cannot get to part 2 before you fix part 1. Part 1, you have to clean up and fix the infrastructure so it could actually handle the power that is required to run what they want to run. Then you can start looking into other things. But they haven't fixed any roads, bridges, or anything in as long as I can remember, in at least 50 years. So first, you have to fix so that you can prepare. First, you have to give us a plan and give us a budget. But why break the middle class while you're trying to get there, unless you have another agenda, which has been my contention. It remains my contention that this administration is the worst piece of shit ever, and the squad is a bunch of American haters, and Joe Biden is a thief, okay? And it's been proven. You can argue that all you want, but it's proof, okay? There is proof. This is not hyperbole. This is not anything, but there is solid proof that he has stolen. It is solid proof that he's a racist, solid proof that he's been trying to push down on Israel, and he's a piece of shit. This is Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, August the 6th. We're going to step out here for a break and be right back after this break. What up, everybody? Well, here we are, and of course, another week gone by, a little bit of a rough week for the markets, but we'll get into it in our market report. But of course, as you know, we do have sponsors that we would, like to always have you check them out. Again, there's no requirement, obviously, but I vetted all these and I use them myself. So certainly, it behooves you to take a look and check them out. And one would be Capital Trading Group, who is our partner in many of our letter direction deals, and of course, Day Trader's Dream. And certainly, they do a great job. They got great customer service, and I would certainly like you to check them out at info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. And of course, it is scrolling on the side if you didn't get that. And of course, there's also Trade Your Brokerage. Listen, they're $10 a month flat, which is unheard of. They can automate your trading through our software at no cost. Okay, if you're a member of the equity portfolios, it is no cost. If you're a hedger, there is a licensing fee, but there's no extra additional brokerage costs. It's try.trader.com/Bubba, also scrolling on the sides. And of course, our high school program. We're trying. We've got 5 months left to get this thing up and running again, and it's been a lot of work and a lot of money to have the teachers continue to push back. But in the meantime, we're going to try, because education to our youth is one of the most important things. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and our commentary. Welcome back. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, August the 6th, and listen, markets had a little bit of a rough week last week. We had the debt ceiling down, not the debt ceiling, but the debt downgrade by Fitch, which means we got to pay more money on our interest payments. We've got all kinds of crap going on. And, at the end of the day, okay, the markets are at support. Now, we're still long. Now, personally, I think that you might have seen the tops on Friday. We opened up higher. We had the jobs number, which is bullshit anyways, but that's a story for another day. And of course, closed almost on their lows. And that's pretty much of a key reversal. And again, I'm not predicting. We're still long. So that's I'm just giving you my opinion versus what the fact of what my position is. Okay. And we are still long the 4 major indices, and that's not changing tomorrow. Okay. So we'll see what happens there. In the meantime, as we look at around the board, the dollar, which we would be long, had a moderate week. Both the dollar and the euro currency, which we're almost always the opposite. In this case, we would be long the dollar, but we are short the euro currency. And a lot of things were pretty much flattish, as you saw some recoveries at the end of the week. But we would be short. We are short the euro currency. Would be short the dollar. Bitcoin, another flat week, which we remain long. The crude oil continues to charge higher. If you have if you haven't noticed, crude is going and spiking. And of course, with that, Saudi Arabia has cut production once again, which we said last week that it was coming, if you remember. And of course, here it is once again. And again, it's all about money. Now, again, if we were doing our own production, we wouldn't have to worry about this. We wouldn't have the inflation. We wouldn't have to have the Fed hiking rates every single time they have a meet. So again, if you look at it from just a straight logic standpoint, kind of stupid, but of course that's our administration's kind of stupid. So, and natural gas continues to be hovering in these tight ranges. We're still long it, but if you look out into the curve, you'll see that the prices are going higher, but of course it doesn't benefit us here. And in the copper, we are still long. And copper are relatively flat. Again, I don't like it anyways. I don't know what the hell it's doing up long to begin with. And as we look in the grain markets, we are short across the board and had a little rough week. Again, this has been a very volatile period for the grains, and it doesn't make sense. This is always the issue of logic versus what's happening, and it just doesn't make sense what's going on in the grain markets. They are totally, almost underwater now. And I'm not talking about rainwater. I'm talking about from financially, and we'll see how it indeed works out. But even if you look at Friday, you saw overnight trade up big. By the end of the day, they were almost down in the day. So, and the protein complex, they're still trying to work higher, but I don't know how much more room there's cattle. Now we don't trade anymore, but I would be short cattle and short hogs if I were doing it on my own, which I am short hogs, full disclosure, because again I don't think they can support these prices up here. And as we look into the softs, cocoa was higher, and we're still long. We're still short sugar. We're still short coffee. We're still long OJ, and we are still long cotton. So again, look, I think we might have seen the tops. I think we could be in for an ugly end of the third, fourth quarter, but we'll see. Again, I'm not going to make any massive predictions. You know where I stand. I think we're going down 50 to 70% before it's all over. But that doesn't mean it's going down today. So just remember, the trend is your friend, or at least stay on the sidelines observing. Don't try to force anything. You end up hurting yourself. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horowitz will step out here for our final break and come back with our commentary right after the break. Well, kids, again, I'm not going to go through the whole speech, but you got Trade Your Brokerage, Capital Trading Group, and our high school program on the sides, and scrolling on the bottom. You get the websites. Check them out. Help us out. Again, everything I do is with you in mind, trying to find better things for you. It's got nothing to do with anything else other than I'm trying to make things better and easier for you as a trader, as an investor, and help us educate our people, our youth. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, Todd Bubba Horowitz, and have our commentary. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, August the 6th, and I don't know if any of you watched the Hall of Fame football game, the Hall of Fame game they call it, which is the opening of the new football season. Obviously exhibition game, but they have all the inductions into the Hall of Fame. And what was really neat was DeMarcus Ware, who got inducted into the Hall of Fame, sung the national anthem. And boy, you could see the criticism on Twitter about his singing the national anthem. I thought he did. First of all, I thought he did a great job. Number one. Number two, there's a guy stepping up to sing and honor this country, singing the national anthem, and a real true American, unlike that piece of shit Megan Rapinoe and the American soccer team, who is kneeling during the national anthem. You think that it's all cute and funny that we have all this kneeling and all this hatred for America from our own people. They should be banned and abolished in this country, because they're using American money to protest against America. If you want to represent America, you should not be someone who's kneeling during the national anthem. But I thought DeMarcus Ware did a nice job, and of course the Twitter haters, fuck them, and fuck anybody else who wants to talk about this country. This is still the greatest country in the world, but unfortunately, we're going backwards. And I don't want to catch up to everybody going to the backside. I want to be the leader, not the follower. I want to be the leader. And this current administration has put us in a place to be a follower, not the leader. Think about that the next time you go to the voting polls. This is Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, August the 6th. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you back here, tomorrow with Bubba's Day Update. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you later.